Okay. I want to make sure we still have the last. I know we finished on death. Anybody heard of sudden infant death syndrome? The SIDS? And how bad it is with basically the let me make sure that's off. So it's worse in the Midwest for some reason. The statistics are like, here it is, Ashford. So I know I showed you guys the stats last time, but it's like double. That's where I have to search. In the Midwest, who all here was born in the Midwest? Are you guys all consider, like, are you Midwesterners? So here's the stats. So infant mortality are higher in the U.S. than most developed nations. Mortality rates were 6.1% for white infants, 14.1% for black infants, and Hispanic infants' mortality was similar to whites. I know this is a little bit older PowerPoint. It's like 8-9 years old, but it's similar. And so the primary reason for death among the white infants was congenital abnormalities. We were saying that could be heart. And then for African Americans was low birth weight. And then questions for you guys. What contributes to these differences? What are some policy implications? I know we started talking about that. So anybody remember what we said for the 2 questions? I'll try to get back into here. This is a campaign we ran in Cincinnati. Let me see if this works. It'll be my luck that the audio sucks. No, I don't want to sign in. So here it is. Did that just work? And then... Okay, we'll start over. Nope, not today.
Celebrate One. At Celebrate One, we focus on 3 goals: reducing prematurity, eliminating preventable sleep-related deaths, and connecting the disconnected. Too many babies die in unsafe sleep environments, and many of these deaths are preventable.
I think every community member should know the ABCs of safe sleep, and they should share that message with everyone who has a baby or is in touch with a baby under 12 months of age. And so the ABCs again are: babies should sleep alone on their back in an empty crib, and they should share the room and not the bed. Together, we can and must change the outcome for families in Central Ohio now and for years to come.
So that was one of them. That's kind of the campaign, because in the past, people would say, like, put the baby face down because it could throw up. And the research has shown that's not so much the case. You're alone in the crib mainly because, like, if you had a bunch of covers and somehow the baby moves a little bit, it covers up its face. Also alone because if you co-sleep with the baby and say you're so tired, you sleep with them, maybe on your stomach, they fall, and then you roll over. That's another danger. And then alone back. So yeah, the back being that their airway is always unobstructed. And then in the crib, they also have, anybody know what those things are called that hook up to the side of the bed? I should know this. We have one right now. Bassinet.
Oh, yeah.
So a bassinet would be fine, but something like separates them. I think they're even selling things that make like a bassinet. But as you can tell, yeah, they had campaigns everywhere. So here's another one. You see them.
Babies like me need lots of sleep to grow up healthy and happy. Good thing my parents and caregivers know their ABCs. Alone, back, crib, every nap, every night. I sleep the safest when I'm alone, sharing a room but not a bed, on my back in an empty crib. No bumpers, no pillows, no blankets, no toys, and my home should be completely smoke-free. Practice the ABCs of safe sleep for babies in your home and you'll sleep like a baby too. Visit the website to learn your ABCs.
So that's another one. Anybody have any babies in your family you've seen some of this with? Nieces, nephews, cousins, brothers, sisters? Yeah. So any thoughts, any opinions?
My sister kind of slept. She had like a bed bassinet,
Mm-hmm.
but like you could put it in the bed, but it was still like separate. Like she wasn't
Right.
Right, the bed with her.
That's what I
She
think.
was in the bed with her, though.
Yeah. But it makes sure she won't roll over on top of her.
Because it's like a hard bassinet.
I've seen those. Yeah. That's what I think I was trying to say. So here's another one. Midwest is for some reason the worst numbers. And I don't have the research on it for you guys, but here's another one. They put hundreds of thousands. They were giving out free cribs. They were giving out bassinets.
Oh, you look a little sleepy on your back. Let's get in the crib.
That's a big baby too.
Alone on their back and in a crib.
So it's usually at like about 4 months where they can finally kind of lift themselves up, or like if they got an obstruction, like you can move your head away from. Breathing is involuntary, but like if you got something on top of you, you can't get off. You're not going to be able to breathe. What else? They had Nebraska. So that is those congenital for white infants, and then low birth weight. Some connect that to like the food desert status, where and why they've pushed federal campaigns for like WIC is women, infants, and children. I think it stands for like to fund that and to pay for that. The policy being WIC would be one, but it has to go through legislation. It has to go through your congressmen. Same with like getting 100,000 for the Alone Back and Crib campaign, things of that nature. And then social risk factors, poverty. Why do you think poverty and having a baby could be a social risk factor?
Might not be able to give them everything that they need, like diapers,
Mm-hmm.
formula, stuff.
Absolutely. Anybody else?
Yeah, that's I feel like you probably not gonna be able to provide everything.
Right. Yeah, and even if you have a hard time accessing those resources. So we as social workers being that connection for people, like finding them the way they can get signed up for WIC, finding them the way they can get signed up for the Alone Back and Crib campaign, where they're giving out free cribs, free diapers, food pantry, things that are, life-saving. It's well, do you all remember the stat how many babies are born per couple? How many kids we all have nowadays?
Wasn't it like 2.3 or something?
That is replacement. Yes, that's how like we would replace ourselves. You would have one more, and we had that as recent as the 70s in America. It's probably still that way in India. And now Europe and America are like 1.6, 1.7. Asia is like 2 point because the world population is still going up, but somebody mentioned the number of vaccines going up. I don't remember if you guys remember that. Let's see if I can just pull it up. I probably have to go on number. Actually, I think the photo might show it better. Yeah, they're showing some of the research. I think you have to go. Does anybody have an account on Twitter?
Yeah.
I feel like you have to search there now. Is that terrible? I don't know why. If you go on Google, like you get some directed. Let's see if I can get in.
I think you can do it on Facebook too. Like you have to actually use make an account in the app to view the posts.
Yeah. Maybe. Oh, it actually wants the freaking Apple ID stuff. Let's see if it worked. If you just do like Apple. But then something pops up on your phone.
Just show us what your password is.
Does it?
Now we can should.
On the Apple ID? What can you get with it? What's good for the. I guess everything nowadays? You can get my. I don't know if I have any bank accounts on here. The Apple Card or Apple Pay?
Yeah. I'll figure it out.
I know, right? Oh, fuck. You got to make a username too? You do like that? Incorrect. Please try again. Is that like, did you have to use a real name?
No, I don't think so. I think it's when you signed in, right?
I guess so.
Then you have to use like your actual account that you signed in with.
Damn, I don't remember. Yeah. Anyway, that's where you could see some of the different vaccines numbers. Here you go. Is that it? Like if this showed. I mean, that does seem like a lot. That's where you schedule it. I know somebody had brought it up last class, but just something to consider. If those are affecting it, I think we said, like, do you really need hepatitis B or HPV as a toddler? That would seem weird, as I think HPV is mostly STDs. So, next topic, domestic violence. 1 in 4 women are physically abused during pregnancy, and there's increased risks for miscarriage and low birth weight. There was a stat that says domestic violence goes up with a pregnancy. What are your all's thoughts on that? Why does that happen? Why do you think more likely to have domestic violence if there's a pregnancy or a fight or a hormones? I could see that, and maybe the male being fearful of having the baby and paying for it. So all the changes that come with it, all the responsibilities, or both. I mean, not just the male. So then as a social worker, things to obtain, birth, during the assessment, the gestation, the birth, and then the newborn. Let me see here. Any questions on that, and any questions on your genogram, ecomap now too. Here is chapter 4. We're rocking and rolling now. Infancy. So, historically, we did have high infant mortality rates. So some argue that's why we had so many kids back in the old days. And even as recent as 1945. So my dad was born in 1945. He'll be 80 in April. 3 brothers, 4 sisters, and 1 brother, 6 total. My mom had 4 brothers and 4 sisters. She was born in 47. Main developmental task in infancy was survival. So just like staying alive. That was the old, just keep them alive, make sure they can get up and work for the family business, whatever it may be. Rates decreased dramatically with improved nutrition and control of infections and diseases. So there's that. Increased recognition in early 60s of the consequences of poor early childhood development. So finally in the 60s, they got the research. Like, we used to think like, because none of us remember anything before we're 3 years old, like kids don't experience trauma, or like if mom and dad are fighting or there's domestic violence in the house at 1 or 2 and they're arguing, the kids don't know what you're saying as they can't talk. And that has been found not to be true, is they can sense all of it, the fighting, the energy, the cortisol spikes. It does affect brain development. So because of these, we started policies of the Head Start program in 1965 and early Head Start in 95. So they advanced it during the Clinton administration in 1995 when Bill Clinton was around. I guess he's still around. Is Bill Clinton still alive? I feel like I saw him at the last presidential thing. Yeah, him and Hillary must be. Actually, I feel like the last several presidents were all born in the 40s and 50s. So they're all, even freaking Trump is what, like 78 now? So they're all getting old. And Bush was elected in 01 or 2000 for 01. He was only 45 then. So both parents are working. This is a big one. Societal changes. Up until like the 80s, you could get away with 1 to 1.5 jobs to support a family, whatever like the average family was. And this is kind of where I connect back the monetary system and money supply and like funding for that. So by the 90s, you needed for sure 1.5 to 2 jobs. So whether that's one person working 2 jobs or 2 people working 2 jobs. Then I feel like by the 2000s, it got up even more, where it was about 2 people working 3 jobs just to support a family. Right now, how many of y'all had mom and dad working? So one. When do you think the cutoff was? Is it could differ by city also, like city by city. It's just gotten more expensive to live. I guess that's where I'm going. Like the cost of living is so high now that would the one who was working have more than 1 job, or like work overtime at least? I guess that could be counted the same. And just 1 job?
No, okay, both of them had 1 job.
Okay, they both had 1. So like, yeah, two jobs if it was by 1 person. So they're saying, yeah, both parents working, greater number of unmarried women, increased number of teenage mothers, increased substance abuse by mothers. So our policy towards childcare, we had the Lanham Act provide government support for childcare during World War II. Daycare programs increased in the 1970s. And then Child Care Development Fund was then created the dependent child care credit, and then welfare reform. Excuse me. They got good speakers nowadays. I'm impressed. That is louder than my computer, I think. Because these suck. So, infancy stage. So, in infancy, we've got the hallmarks are like physical growth until you're 2. Like, seriously, the first 1 year, you're like tripling in size almost. So you're born at 5, 6, 7 pounds. Do any of you know how much you weighed when you were born? I know you got to ask mom or look at the birth certificate. Underweight. And then motor development and vocal development. So this is where we have like the pictures of how the baby moves. Then growth and size depend on environmental conditions as well as genetic endowment. So this is where they also get into the argument nature versus nurture. Like, how are you raised? How are you brought up? And what genes did you inherit? So that's, again, the genogram. Genes we inherit, things that are challenging and things of that nature. So with physical growth, shoot, let's see if I can. I was adding, so I'm going to show it as a slideshow, but it gets smaller for me, but bigger for you guys. So I might even have to look at the next, this one. So some red flags, yeah, your birth weight doubles in 5 months, and then length doubled by 3 to 4 years. And then if you have a 2-year-old in your family and you measure them, you double that for their full-on size. So you're half your adult height at 2 years old. And shoot, I forgot to measure my little dude. He just turned 2 on New Year's Eve. So like if you are 36 inches at 2, you're going to be 6 feet tall. If you are, does anybody know the average height of a woman by chance? And the average height of a man? Okay. How about for a man? Okay. I think it's 5'9" or 5'10". I think for a woman, you're right. That sounds absolutely right. I think my wife is maybe 5'4", so I wonder if one's tall and the other's short. Sometimes you balance out. Sometimes you just inherit all of mom's genes. Large, small head size could be a red flag. It could be cognitive deficits, small height, so genetic syndromes. The infant brain, this is the most critical. At like 1 year, you're half the size of an adult brain. So you like weigh 3 or 4 pounds, and then your brain can get up to 7 pounds, I think. I don't remember. That sounds right. Billions of neurons. So this is why they say, like, you want to expose the kid to as many things developmentally as possible. Like, get outside, look at the sun, touch the grass, use some of those puzzles, do some of the books, read to them, talk to them. They'll learn how to talk. And proper nutrition. So it's those first 3 years that are the craziest, like feeding them omega-3s, fatty acids, all the different things. And it's just those first 3 years are so critical. And it's hard because sometimes you have your first baby when you're the most broke because you just started out in your career field. And that's why some people wait to have kids. And then proper nutrition, experience, and the social environment is also important to brain growth. Growth does not happen the same rate all over. Like the growth from head to feet compared to the spine to other extremities is proximdosal. I'm not going to pronounce it right. And then maturation theory, like genetically programmed sequence Um, so some milestones that are big, those at the 50th percentile for age. Did you guys ever get that told to you? Like, you are the 55th percentile of your height and 59th percentile for your weight. Like, whenever you saw the doctor, did they ever tell you that?
I don't think so. No.
Maybe it's a big thing now. Like, they're saying, I think our girl's like 55%. The first boy was like 60, 70. The third one is 90%. So he's like close to his brother, who's a year and a half older than him. And they're like the same weight to like fight and wrestle. It's crazy. Posture and sitting and standing is your station. Your gait is your movement. And then as a social worker, it helps us to identify those who may be at risk for a developmental delay, if they're walking funny, or those that cannot perform a task that 90% of babies can. So all of those reactions we were watching the other day, like those are normal to show normal brain development. If they like go like this, and you would want to feed. And if you're not doing that, you're not going to eat as much. You're not going to be as big. If they, go like that, if other different brain development things. Screening recommended at 9 months, 18 months, 24 months, and or 30 months. So these are the ones that I was saying. We have a picture come up next. All of your gross motor. I think that's misspelled. I wonder if the autocorrect. It should be rolls front to back. So that's when you're more likely to be able to roll over. Like if your breathing is obstructed, you can roll away from it and breathe. But month 1, month 2, month 3, if something's on top of you, you can't get it away, and then you can't breathe. And that's where some of the SIDS comes in. 7 months, sit without support. 10 months, creeping well, cruising around furniture. 12 months, independent steps. 14 months, stands without pulling up, and they can walk well. And then 16 months, they can walk backwards. Here's what it all kind of looks like. Hello. Oh, shoot, there was something on the side. No, that's the first time I have notes. So chronological progression of gross motor development during the first 12 postnatal months. And you can see they're mostly like fetal position at birth. Maybe they can push themselves up between 3 and 4 months. They can hold themselves up, roll over at 4 to 5. Then they sit holding themselves up. And these are the things they test for to make sure they're on point. They can sit alone at 6 months, maybe crawl at 8, and then pull themselves up at 9. Kind of like that's when they start pulling shit down at 10 months. Like you've got to baby proof everything. And then 11 and 12, they start walking. And some babies like notice they're getting carried everywhere and they choose not to walk. I had a niece who didn't walk until she was 2 because she's like, you're going to carry me. And they're smart, I think. She didn't want to walk. She didn't walk. So you can have walkers anywhere from 1 year to 2 years old. And here's kind of fine motor stuff. So your fine motor skills, like picking things up, holding a rattle placed in hand at first, batting objects at 3 months, reaching and grasping for objects at 5, transfers from hand to hand at 6 months, bangs 2 cubes together, throws objects, pinchers. So all of this is checking out your brain, making sure you're developmentally normal. Anybody know what the pincer grasp is? It sounds like just like what it is, like a lobster almost. You're like pinching. So if you give them food and they got to pick it up off their plate, they're not doing that as well until They can imitate back and forth scribble and make a 3-cube tower. At 20 months, they can adjust their spoon for eating. And then they can close the box with a lid, imitate vertical line. At 2 years, they have them do a lot. So they can create a 6-block tower, feed themselves with a fork or spoon, remove clothing, and grasp and turn a doorknob. That's how ours is running out the front door now. We've caught him a couple of times. He's like, see ya. And he knows how to unlock the shit. It's annoying. So we're going to try to put a storm door on. Like, I don't know how else to stop it because he will take off. That's true. Maybe that would help. So we're working on it. Anybody seen any of this in their nieces, nephews, cousins, brothers, sisters, or okay? And is it still 50-50? Some of y'all want kids and some of y'all don't want kids. There's no judgment either way. Like no judgment here. But I've heard it's like gone down where people are like, I want one, or I want to travel the world and none. Two? Yeah. Yeah. A middle child is fun. Is the middle child supposed to be bad?
I hate being a middle child.
I'm a middle child, and I was bad.
I'm technically the youngest one out of all 6 of my siblings.
Do they get special privileges? Do you get special privileges?
That I don't. I know I got siblings, but more than one because I live with my brother. He's like 10 years older than me, but I don't know my other siblings, but I do know they're older than me. I think somewhat.
I feel like the little kid gets away with everything. You know what I'm saying? Really? You don't think so? Okay. Well, that's why I asked. That's good. I totally had.
But for me, I mean, I think as much as I can handle.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see it being crazy. I'd say my little sister got away with some bullshit. I have something to sign it on. It just might not be pretty. Yeah.
If you guys haven't finished your genogram, there's something called like Gen Pro that all you have to do is just download it and do like a free trial. And it's pretty easy to use.
Are you good at that stuff?
Huh?
Are you good with that stuff? That's impressive.
Good with what?
Gene Pro.
That's what I'm using right now.
Yeah,
It's
it
pretty
is
easy,
pretty.
so
I know what you're talking about.
yeah.
That's impressive. I am not good with that shit. What?
Yeah, you gotta make you like it. I'm make sure.
I think so. Just like
Yeah, the family tree.
let me check.
It's an app or a website. You can.
How
it's a
do you
website, but you have to
spell
download it,
your-
But it doesn't cost. You just do a little trial thing.
JEREMI.
It's called Gen Pro. Yeah, you'll go in Safari and look for it.
I think I just had it.
I can send it to you if you want.
All I see is energy solution.
At 1:14:25? No, I got one that said for Lewis.
Yeah, the J. Lewis family tree.
I know. For some reason, I only see 1:14:25. I sent you the check sheet. I sent you the check sheet on 1:14:25.
Yeah.
That's the only one I see. Let me.
Really? Hold on. Let me see if I can.
I guess it depends. Also, what time did you send it?
I know I sent it the end of class, the last night. Where did I send it? Man, hold on.
Just a question. Are you comfortable sharing the question or what it says?
Oh, no, it's just it's nothing important. I mean, for the signing, but it's just like, it's nothing like crazy.
Just to like look it up or how to do it or whatever.
No, I already finished it. Just kind of send you.
Let me reboot. Maybe that I do see 2 that just came through, but I'm going to reboot. But yeah, a few generations, see who did. If you got genetics worth noting, biopsychosocial assessment. So like biology, psychology, sociology assessment of your family. Like oh, these are all the questions too. How can we tell whether a baby is developmentally delayed? What do you guys think? How can you tell if they're going to be?
Would it be a physical trait?
It could be sometimes, like fetal alcohol syndrome. They say you can see that in the face.
I know like my niece, she had to go to like therapy for it, but like she wasn't talking. Not talking, you know, like
Yeah.
they were supposed to like that. She wasn't.
And then what did they diagnose with? Do you think?
She just had to go to speech therapy.
Oh, so she was fine after that. Sometimes it is that important and simple. Did I show you guys what the 2-year-old did with the with our house when he flooded it? We lived in it for a week. If this works, I'll show you. This is oh yeah, that was some of the damage. He flooded the upstairs. He flushed like all kinds of toilet paper down it. And it went through. Maybe I shouldn't laugh about it, but it still seems funny to me. Oh yeah, this one was better. So on this one, this is right when I caught it because I was able, and luckily the builder took responsibility. Look at this crap. And I saw the toilet paper in there and I flushed it. And I thought it would go, if it overflowed, it would go once. You know how toilets like go once and stop and you like maybe have to mop it. Well, it ran. So I flushed it. I went to the shower and it had ran the whole time I was in the shower. So maybe like 14 minutes, 25, 35, 45 gallons upstairs above the finished. It probably was thousands in damage, and they're going to fix it. Like they're taking responsibility because the flap should have stopped it. And I don't know if I had showed you guys. That's what a 2-year-old is capable of with 1 minute of not washing them. I don't know if lighters or matches are as easy as when we were kids growing up, but I mean, at some point they could do that too. So you got to watch it. Like matches, lighters. What else is there? He tried to drink her nail polish the other night. He did drink. We use a floor cleaner, but it's tea tree oil. And he came up to me like, and any of you had tea tree oil before know what it's like? Yeah. It's kind of spicy hot, you know, like, you know, I have toothpicks. Okay. So luckily she's like, well, that's why I use the all natural floor cleaner. Like he was like, ew. And I'm like, here, drink some water, dude. So luckily, you know, if it was like, what else do you use for floor cleaner? Chemicals. If it was chemicals, that would be bad. Dude is nuts, man. Like he's just nuts. And I, you know, it's just doing kid stuff. Like that's what kids do. And you get distracted. And like I say, how many distractions there are nowadays it is easy as heck to get distracted. So matches or lighter? Or space?
I think matches.
Okay.
So I turned the stove on and I got a napkin.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I rolled it up where it's like stiff.
At what age?
Yeah.
2 or,
what age?
5?
I think it was 5 actually.
I lit the backyard on fire at 5, but go on.
Oh.
Yeah, I torched it. It was bad. I got spanked.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was all pine needles. I was playing with matches in pine needles.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just like,
Like that fast?
huh?
That fast?
Pine needles dry in the fall, torch like quick.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like if anybody have a pine tree or like burn pine stuff, it burns. So yeah, watch out for them little guys. Poverty was another one. I may not show this until next week. But there's a really good documentary on. That's it. That is a long one too. I haven't seen this one, but so
I don't think that it's good that people are in poverty because I think the government and the royalty should be
I think this is from England, hence the accent.
trying to do stuff and to do things about it. Like when they did free school meals, that was a good thing, but I don't think it's enough.
Poverty is not talked about. I mean, as I said before, there's the occasional survey that the teachers will send out, but it's seen more as a chore that you have to do.
Some teachers don't make enough time for you, or like if you can't afford something, they sometimes might not help.
And it might feel as if you're unincluded because you don't get to like do what other kids do or get what other kids get.
That's a lot. I feel like in America
like,
we have
people
that.
like facing a lot of bullying, and that can cause like suicidal thoughts.
Some kids get bullied because of how much money their parents get and what they can afford to get them.
They can see sometimes they can say like really hurtful things to be bullying them because they have no money, they have holes in their clothes, what stuff like the water bottle they have, or the pencil case they brought in, or the shoes, the jacket.
So it affects
Saying how you're not
scores.
able to afford this or afford that, or some people have to come using like what non-washed clothes, so like coming in with very dirty or don't have a house to bath in, and how they smell. Because if kids don't have any money, they won't be able to pay for the water bills and they can't have any showers. Some people lie about how they're perfectly fine, so the teachers doesn't really get to know if that child needs help or doesn't. Because some people are ashamed to think like I'm going through poverty, and after you can feel like.
So we are working on a few grants ourselves with faculty both at Central State and then also at University of Cincinnati. Shoot, now I do have to. Does it show you guys my password? I don't think so. What the heck? You can't even see it as I type it. You gotta watch the strike patterns on the keys. I don't even know it anyway.
I'll listen for it.
What's that?
I'll listen for it.
I know I'm so bad. I can't remember if I had one. It probably does have one additional thing at the end. I guess that's it. Okay. Do they make you guys do all this too?
Yep.
Like, how in the hell?
Every day.
Even when you click remember me, it's still on.
It's so annoying. And then we still need a zero bill because we got to pay $3,000 for my wife to register.
Oh, really?
Yep. They don't even give, like most other colleges I ever taught at, you get free tuition. If you teach somewhere, you get it free. It's 100 a credit hour here. So there's a discount, but it's not free. Like Miami was free, UC, NKU.
Do you know when you transfer credits transfer with you?
Yeah, your credits should transfer. Yeah. Did you give them the transcript though?
No, I mean if I transfer from here.
Yeah. We're accredited. You're like, I'm ready to transfer now. Where you want to transfer to?
I was thinking about going to Alabama.
Really? Are you from there?
No, I have been here.
Oh, okay. So I was going to say, this probably is the most affordable in Ohio. LaGuardia, here it is. Okay, let me see if the news coverage of our grant. Let's bring it on home more than here we go. The measures program that we're doing some research on, and it's in Cincinnati. What city are you from if you're going all the way to Alabama?
I'm from Detroit.
Okay. We could get you into a graduate school down there in a few years too. How would that work? Or would you be excited about that? We can do that.
You drove here or you flew here?
I drove.
Isn't that 8 hours?
No,
There's only like 3.5
it's really like
if you fly.
it's 3.5 if you drive.
Right. Yeah. Or I mean, if you're driving fast, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Or maybe Cincinnati. Okay, do I ask later? Okay, here we are. The resistance.
Hey, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us here on Spectrum News 1. We were just saying that you got a car wash this weekend.
Yeah, put a big smile on my face. I love getting a car wash. I don't know, it just like eases the stress a little bit, and if you look good, you feel good, and then you do good.
Yeah, I need to get one, but
I guess I need to liaison into it, but this is the research grant we're working on.
I believe it. All right. First this morning, a new report highlights the urgent need for more mental health care in our schools. The National Center for Education Statistics reports nearly all U.S. public schools provided some form of mental health services to students last year.
And because of this, staffing and funding, they are challenges. But a solution could be on the horizon, as one of Ohio's largest school districts is receiving millions of dollars to increase the number of mental health professionals in K-12 schools in the region.
It's like
Spectrum
10
News
million.
One reporter Jamari Burnett introduces us to a student receiving some of those funds and has more on her desire to make an impact.
Jayana Filton, or Jay, is a graduate student majoring in social work at the University of Cincinnati. She interns at Aiken High School, one of 66 Cincinnati public schools.
I do try to step in sometimes if y'all feel comfortable talking to me.
She says most of her days involve being a mediator or a listening ear for students sharing their day-to-day issues.
Like, okay, I agree with you, and that happened to me before.
But Felton, too, has experienced tragedy.
My mother was just in her home. She was in her bedroom and a stray bullet went through the window. I just was like, no, this is not real.
Jay, her twin sister, and 2 younger siblings would lose their mother to gun violence in 2019. But she's turning her pain into purpose, hoping to help and inspire people as a social worker. She tells me it's what her mother would have wanted.
Meet other social workers who were in my life who helped me overcome and grieve and accept that pain and loss. I'm just hoping to pay it forward.
She's one of 45 students who will benefit from the new Measures program, funded by a 5-year, $3.75 million grant.
So we're on this grant with the University of Cincinnati. We do a visit to UC every fall, and they actually fund you guys to go down, stay overnight in a hotel room, feed you 5 or 6 meals, and they're pretty good, and check out their grad school. We try to do this at least connection with every university we know of, like University of Kentucky, Ohio State University, Alabama. We're like try to hook you guys up in every graduate school because we are accredited here. You will qualify for a 1-year master's because of that. Instead of 2 and 60 hours, it's 1 year and 30 some hours.
That's where you graduate essential or just social work?
It's just social work.
Ooh, God bless.
So
Okay.
what's that?
God bless.
Yeah, it's only social work degrees. Yeah, because we're accredited by CSW, the Council on Social Work Ed. At least for now, we'll find out more later this semester. Like we get reaccredited every few years, so it's interesting they show printing money because I was just talking about that. But there's 3 million, and if they're printing money, I want to be on the receiving end of that printed money, because if they're printing money and I'm not getting some of it, you get behind on inflation. You know what I mean? Like, so we did the same. We scholarshiped 8 or 9 of our seniors this year. So we're going to continue to try to write these grants, but I'll let this finish first.
Initiative looks to increase the number of mental health professionals in high-need CPS schools. The grant provides funding for tuition, a living stipend of $10,000 to $15,000, and covers childcare costs if needed.
It's difficult for students, I think, to get an education, pay all that money for tuition, and then get a career that's paying them really about what they spent.
Amanda LaGuardia is an associate professor in UC's School of Human Services and a grant co-author. She said,
that's where I went too. So she's actually in the counseling program at UC. You could go there, but that would be a 2-year. I'd recommend social work. If you're getting a Bachelor of Social Work, it's only 1 year, and you're trained in the same license in Ohio and use it.
As their goals are to recruit, create partnerships, provide local mental health career education, and diversify.
Hold on. That's where I had to defend my dissertation. That's creepy. I had to defend my 155-page paper right in front of the big dogs in that room, and I wanted to shit my pants.
By the workforce, ensuring providers reflect the demographics of the students they serve.
Able to see people that look like them that are serving as mental health providers, it helps them to feel more comfortable, like that person's going to understand them. And when they don't see those people, it creates a barrier.
The graphic on your screen puts that need into perspective, showing the ratio of the number of school-based mental health service providers for CPS compared to the number of students they're serving. The school.
This is a pretty big ratio. So this shows there are going to be jobs for you guys. Like, it's good news, like funded and ready, and we can bill Medicare and Medicaid, but there's one student, one counselor to 485 students, or one social worker to every 384 students. And what's recommended nationally is one student, one social worker or counselor for every 250 students.
School counselor ratio is 1 to 485, while the school social worker ratio is 1 to 384. Both are higher than the national and state recommended ratio of 1 to 250. The hope is that students like Jay will fill in those gaps. She says the program will afford her the opportunity to stay in school and study in Ghana in the spring. Once she graduates in May,
that's right. So they did a Ghana visit program to do a whole semester in Ghana, Africa, through University of Cincinnati. I did mine in Nicaragua, Managua, Nicaragua, and then El Salvador. You don't have to go out of the country if you don't want to, but like, it's just an opportunity. They also have a similar one at Xavier University in Over the Rhine, Cincinnati. Anybody heard of Over the Rhine? That's kind of like where a lot of our social services are located in Cincinnati, like food bank, soup kitchen, homeless shelter, all of the above.
Doesn't plan on going far.
Being an intern, I'm only here 2-3 days out of the week, so they need someone who can be here consistently. They need consistency. So that's why I hope to be here long term.
For Spectrum News, I'm Jabari Burdett.
Central State University is also a partner in the new initiative, providing those students with the opportunity to pursue a graduate degree. And despite workforce shortages, Cincinnati Public Schools added 26 individuals into its mental health professionals team since 2022.
Is that a lot or is that a little? 26? I don't know. I was going to give you all time. I like yours if you want to add any mental health, genetics, biology, high school graduate, college graduate, just ideas. If you want to fill it out more, it's totally up to you. I like what you did. That's the problem with when you're like, hey, how does this look? And you're like, well, it's great, but you can also do this. So I was just looking at it. It looks good. And you can add, if you wanted to, like, yeah, positive relationships are good, married, separate. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. This is for everybody, though, too. I'm like, but you can always add any mental health thing, if there's addictions, if there's good stuff, graduates, high school, college. So totally up to you.
Okay, so just.
The more the merrier.
Okay, that might be.
I'll always challenge you guys to do more. I know it's annoying.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna
That's cool.
get y'all rocking it with these scholarships. If anybody have a scholarship, I guess it's that. Yeah.
That advanced scholarship.
Awesome. Okay. So we're trying to increase those opportunities with social work in general, mental health field, all of those. I know we are at enough time. I want to give you guys time to do any finishing touches on your genogram. Any questions, concerns, sign-ins?